Hey, people. Oh, this is a cracking show today. If you're listening on the radio station, thanks very much. If you're listening on a podcast, thank you. Please subscribe. These shows go out on Dougie Stone Radio. That's DUGGYSTONE radio.com. Range of shows. But this is the Dougie Stone Show. Oh, yeah. Now, today's show is a very interesting one and a subject I had to cover after meeting Tosin, who's a good friend of mine from Nigeria. And it was a subject, and it came up about Danny Baker and the image that Danny Baker put out when the royal baby was born. Now, I'm going to play a little clip before we get into the interview of his point of view. But there was an absolute outcry because the image, because the royal couple, now their baby is of a mixed heritage because of a Meghan Markle from the States. Now, the image he put out was one of two posh-looking people holding hands with a chimpanzee that's dressed in clothing, it's got a top hat on. And if you listen to Danny, his reasons for sharing it, quite interesting. And what happened quite quickly, the BBC looked at it and sacked him. I don't personally think he should have been sacked. But anyway, that's my personal opinion. So it's very interesting when I listened to Tosin and what he had to say at a networking meeting I had when he said, I don't think he was being racist. And I said, we've got to have a discussion about this. We was also joined by Sabrina, but she couldn't make it physically in the radio studio. So we had her beamed in through Messenger on the speakers. So you might hear a little bit of a sound difference, but that's the reason. But we had to get involved. Anyway, let's have a listen to this clip from Danny just after the event. It turns out, I believe, I've just been reading on it today because this was done before, obviously, a couple of weeks ago, a week or so ago. He may now have a job back in radio, which is very, very interesting. So let's have a listen to this clip. And then let's get on with the discussion. I hope you enjoy it. If you've got any comments, please let me know. Go to dougiestoneradio.com. You can contact us, contacts@dougiestoneradio.com. And I'm really interested in your input. But let's have a listen to what Danny had to say after the incident.
Understandably so. I've seen these things happen to other people. You never think it's going to happen to you. And the unconscious and ridiculous tweet I did yesterday has spurred all this off. I must have been a little surprised by it because my attitude towards it, and I'm going to have to ask people to indulge it, is Occam's razor. Sometimes the least sensational or most obvious reason is the reason. And when I say to people, I saw Royal Baby Archie, made a joke about Archie, and then I thought, oh, my go-to photograph when posh people, walk out or have kids, went to that stupid photograph of a chimp in a top hat. And shouldn't have done. And when people said, that's Meghan's, you tear it down. Oh no, because I'm well aware of the centuries-old trope linked in race and primates.
Did you think about it, though, when you were doing it? Did you not think
about
not
necessarily. Otherwise, I'd have to be some kind of slavering, secret racist, I promise you. I would... nobody invites this onto themselves. No, I had no idea until somebody had been up about 8 minutes. Somebody said, Dan, that's Meghan... What's it? Like, down. People say, you must know she was over. I know she is. But the House of Windsor these days, apart from the old firm, I genuinely didn't. And I genuinely, no one in their right mind would have put that juxtaposed that grotesque, diseased mind image. I did. But I did it because I didn't know it was Princess Sarah's your father having a kid. But once it's explained, of course this all happens. Once that was explained, of course it happens.
So there you go. So that's his point of view after it. Whether you believe him or not, that's entirely up to you. I genuinely believe him. And listen to the conversation with me, Tosin, and Sabrina. I think you'll enjoy it. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. So, introduce yourself, Tosin.
Hello, my name is Tosin Ajayi. I run a video production company. And this all came about because we were at a networking meeting and Kirk said something about Danny Baker, and I sort of went, well, I don't think what Danny Baker tweeted out was racist. I said that. And obviously, as a black man, that's a bit of like a, ooh.
And I was a bit shocked. Now, let's see if we should have, because Sabrina should be in here, but she can't make it. She's got various things going on. But anyway, let's see if everyone can hear you, Sabrina. So introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi guys, my
Not
name
going
is
up, is it?
Sabrina Francis from Mindset Match. I'm a mindset coach and I help people to understand what's going on in their mind. And I think that's kind of how the conversation came out at the networking meeting that we were all at. Part of my sort of 40-second intro was we played a bit of a game of kind of have I got news for you? And I got people to try and guess the news story, and it was Danny Baker. And part of my message was that quite often we judge ourselves by our intentions and others by their impact or their actions. And we sometimes forget that people judge us by our impact and our actions and not necessarily our intentions. And that kind of sparked up the debate from there, I think.
Yep. So I'm hoping everyone can hear what Sabrina is saying, because my needles weren't going up. So if you could hear Sabrina, let us know. And we just had something, and you've got a very good-looking black man there.
Oh, well, yeah. Somebody who's here, I think it was that Kathy Baker.
Kathy, she's in Canada.
Is he? Okay, cool. Well, tell her I can see she has a type.
She has a type.
I can see Kathy has a type.
Right, so what we're talking about, just joined us, is if you're in the UK, you would have seen, obviously the royal family just had a new baby, haven't they?
The royal family have had a new baby. This is big news in America. I can see from all the things, because obviously the mother of this baby is Meghan Markle.
Yeah.
Yes.
So they'll know about it over there, won't they?
Well, they know about it. I saw even during the wedding, it was a big deal. It was a massive deal in America. It was all over every single outlet. So yeah, and I think Canada tends to have a good idea of what happens outside the world, so they'll know about it in Canada as well.
The issue was that the image they put on when the royal baby was born was of, I think it was one of the old royal family, and they had a chimpanzee or
it's a picture that I believe I've seen before. It's a kind of picture that you see, it shows up on a lot of greeting cards and things like that, where you have and if it's the one I'm thinking of, you see it's almost like a 1950s setting. Yeah. You have like a man in a suit, a woman in a dress, and they're walking along, and they're both holding hands with a chimpanzee. Yeah. And if it's the one I'm thinking of, the chimpanzee is dressed in human clothes. Yeah. And this is a picture that has been used on cards. It's been used on greeting cards, all that kind of stuff. And Danny Baker tweeted this picture out with the caption, "Royal baby leaves hospital." And it all kicked off. So he's gotten fired from his job at the BBC. Everybody's going on, and like the usual people who they wheel out anytime anything supposedly racist comes out have come out and they've had their say and they've had their pound of flesh about this whole thing. And my thing about it is that I don't actually think that when he shared it, he was thinking, oh yeah, well I don't like this, so we now have black blood in the royal family. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to say that the black people are chimpanzees. I don't think that's what he was doing.
No, I agree with you. I think he's made a silly mistake. But when you see the image, when I first saw the image, I go, oh my God, you can't produce that image. What do you think, Sabrina?
Can you hear me? That's the first question.
Yeah, well, I can hear you fine.
I hope so.
Yeah. Okay, so I am kind of with Tosin on this, in that, from my perspective, with a little bit more of a sort of psychological way of thinking, there's not very many people who are going to put something out there knowing full well sort of the context and the consequences that could arise. I think very much he was, his intentions were, I think from what he described, was to talk about the kind of divide between the richer and the poorer, and it was this, because this chimp was sort of dressed in very sort of noble attire. So it's relatively clear that his intentions were to send one message out, but without him thinking really about the bigger picture and the context and how other people might have perceived this image, he's put out a message that wasn't necessarily the impact that he wanted.
Yeah, because I think essentially, if you looked at it as a commentary on the royal family, about how the royal family are seen as animals, how the royal family are treated by the media and all that, essentially he could have tweeted the exact same thing out when Prince John or Prince George or Princess Charlotte were born, or Prince Louis were born. Nobody would have batted an eyelid, because they just have been like, oh yeah, this is what he's saying. Maybe he's more royalist or anything like that. Yeah. But and for years we've had this is how we've treated the royal family. This is how we said, this is the kind of jokes you can make about the royal family. But now, and I think this is sort of like an intersectional thing where he put it out thinking, I'm talking about the royal family. This is the kind of thing, this is the kind of satire we've always made about the royal family.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, because the royal family now has a member who's, quite frankly, of a different race, let's put it that way, of a different racial origin, it has this other connotation to it. But then all of a sudden, it's kind of like, oh, does that mean we can't make jokes about the royal family like this anymore? We can't speak about the royal family like this anymore. So I think that's what he did. But it has this other thing, and from the story, and quite frankly, I'm not a big Danny Baker fan. I think he's good sometimes. Sometimes I think he gets on my nerves, and it's. But the stories that I've heard is kind of like he shared it, and people we saw going through and going, "Oh my God, Danny, what have you done?" And he's like, "What happened?" And then they're like, don't you realize?" And he's like, "Oh God!" And then he realizes this is the problem, and he takes it down.
Yeah.
He takes it down, but then the BBC fire him, and I can understand from a business perspective why they did, because if they had Danny Baker on his show the week after that tweet was out, every single caller would have been about, how dare you tweet that thing out? And you couldn't send him to do anything else, because people would willfully ignore the fact that he didn't mean it and still use it as a stick to beat him over the head with. Yeah. So I can understand why the BBC fired him, because they were like, it's just going to become about this one thing. Even if it was a mistake, it's just so they made a business decision.
Yeah.
Not a moral decision, but then again, they're in the business of doing business, not in the business of doing morals. So
yeah, I don't know. I mean, from my point of view, I think that there's got to be a moral perspective to it, because with a position like the one that Danny Baker held, he is in a position of responsibility, and I think when you're getting paid those sorts of salaries, when you're that sort of prominent in the work that you're doing, there comes with that a responsibility and an expectation to know what's going on in the wider context, to really think about things from different perspectives, and not to kind of like our Donald Trump style of rubbish without necessarily stopping to think about the impact that it has.
I was shocked when Tosin said he didn't think he was racist, and now I understand a bit more what he means by that. Because you're right about, the royal family and they're a source of ridicule, aren't they?
Yeah, quite frankly, that's what they are.
And then I saw the tweet, and obviously I was a bit like, oh my God. But I personally thought, well, they shouldn't have sacked him. I personally didn't think they should have sacked him, but you're making a valid point that if they hadn't sacked him, then that just, it's be a constant barrage of abuse.
It would that's what his next show would have been about. The next couple of months would have just have been about this.
Yeah.
And even though it isn't the case, people will not look at people will not think, because people do not like to think. People nowadays like to be insulted, and people will go, hang on a second, if I think about this for a second, and if I actually try and I don't get offended. So if I didn't think about it, if I just said it's racist, then I can be offended. Right, yes, cool, offense. And people will just go for the thing that makes them offended. And I think that they would have just so many people yelling about this thing that it would become a distraction from pretty much anything they were trying to do in that slot on his radio show on the weekend. So I think that they just went, we're going to get ahead of this, and we're just going to say, we don't want to deal with this. We have other things to do. Unfortunately, you can't do it now. Because I don't think he's going to want for offers. I think he probably had for like 5 offers waiting for him when he walked out the door, because someone else is just going to jump on it and be like, we don't have the same kind of issue, or we don't have the same kind of exposure. But going back to what Sabrina said about being in the public eye, I think that we need to be careful what it is we expect of people in the public eye, because someone like him, he's like he is. Let me take a similar thing. Benedict Cumberbatch. A couple of years ago, he was on a radio station in America, and they were talking about how hard it is for what benefits he's had being a white actor compared to somebody who would not be a white actor, and he went and he used a word that I personally hate, and it's the C word. He used the word colored. And that C word. No,
That's a bit strong, isn't it?
Yeah, no, especially for Benedict. But so he used that word, and it's kind of like thinking on your feet and all that kind of stuff. And I think so people like comedians, like presenters, they have to do a lot of stuff on their feet. And I think if you have to stop and think about every single repercussion of every single thing you could possibly say before you even utter one word or send out one tweet, then, I mean,
yeah,
I don't think that's any kind of life to live.
It's a minefield, isn't it? And that word, the C word you don't like, at one time that was acceptable. It was people presume that was the the right terminology.
Yeah, I know.
Say,
in this country they used it. I know. I know historically. It's
Do you know what I mean? It wasn't like the N word. We was talking about the N word the other day as well. I'm not even going to repeat. Say it. But coloured was off colour. Once you coloured or what, and then I think sometimes people have to double think what. So like you, do I describe you? Obviously, Tosin, do I describe you as a black guy, or is he's not white, or what? Sometimes where a lot of people try to second guess what they're saying just in case they say the wrong thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's an issue for people. What's your thoughts on that? So, is everyone being offended too much, and is it us being offended? Was I offended by it because of my? Do you know what I mean? Was it me?
Oh, yeah, I know what you mean. Essentially, it's kind of like it's you have essentially you end up having a lot of white people getting offended on behalf of somebody else. Yeah, a lot of white people getting offended on my behalf because it's like, oh my God, how dare you do that? And the question is like, are you doing that? Is it for me or is it for you?
Yeah.
Is it for me or is it some sort of, I don't know, white guilt, something like that? But anyway,
potentially because there is a lot of that in there. I mean, anyway, Sabrina was asking you a question. What's your views on it? Fire away.
Well, I might have lost track of the question that you asked initially, but there was something that came up for me around people getting. I like where Tosin took that. So were people getting offended because for you?
Tosin,
yeah.
Or for a sense of white guilt, and what's come up for me is my experience. So this whole, from my perspective as a white woman, this whole timp thing and it having that kind of connotation to any other sort of race or person in that way is something that's completely new to me. The very first time that I experienced this, and I remember this vividly, I went to a football match. It would have been in like 2002. It was in Rome, Lazio versus, I think they were playing Benfica.
Ooh.
It was the first time I experienced monkey noises and crowds sort of picking out one particular player on the pitch, I think. And I could not get over what I was hearing. I was with people from various different backgrounds, countries, because I was at an Italian school learning the language, and there was all sorts of people from everywhere, and I was so offended that it wasn't necessarily. I really don't think it was for me. It was just the thought that any other human being would kind of direct, an animal, something that somebody was not. Was just beyond my comprehension, and I was shushed by the friends that I was with because I was ready to take people on, and they were like, "This is not the right time or place. This happens. It's normal. Just calm down."
It's normal.
And the more that they said this, I could feel myself. I was ready to explode.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, because they throw bananas on the pitch and all sorts of things, don't they, as a reference? And I think that's what you're talking about, and the football and the rest of it. When I, as an individual, saw that image, I was like, I know what you're referring to by using that image, but Danny's not done it. Because taking it a step back, obviously, if one of the roles is there was a few video pictures and memes, because with the other babies be ginger, because there's casting aspersions that Prince Charles is not the kid. Fathers. So you know what I mean. So the kids are going to come out. Kids are going to come out ginger. Yeah. Now no one's offended by that. So I'm not offended by that. I think it's quite funny. But that is probably, I don't know. It's funny, isn't it? What we see is offensive and what we don't see offensive, and is it right to be? You know what I mean?
I think it's a problem of history. And it's a problem of history because ideally you want to get to the point where you have a world where anybody can joke about anybody can say anything about anybody, and as long as we're perceived as equal, it's not that big a deal.
Yeah.
So if you said something about let's stick with the football thing. If, for instance, England's playing Germany, and you started abusing the German player, and you started saying a whole bunch of stuff, you have to go very, very far before somebody's going to go, hang on a second, that's an offense. Yeah. If you're talking between two people from two predominantly white nations. However, if you were playing, like, let's say England was playing Nigeria, and you said some of those things, because of the history of it,
yes,
because the Britain colonized Nigeria, it doesn't exist in a vacuum, and because of that, something that you would say and something you might mean in exactly the same way you would say it to a German, you say it to someone from Nigeria, and all of a sudden it's like, whoa, the history of this thing,
yes,
what you guys did. I'm Nigerian, so I'm like, what you guys did to my country, all that kind of stuff. You're not allowed to say that. And I think it's you mentioned the N-word. It's a very similar thing in the background in there, and it's a new wrinkle because it's about whether you're talking about, if we come back to the Danny Baker thing, it's whether you're talking about the royals or whether you're making a racial point. Are you making a class point or are you making a racial point?
Yeah, good point.
And and then all of a sudden it's a whole new wrinkle. It's not good, and it's because I'm not trying to say that I did not see how this could possibly be perceived as racist. Yeah. I can see totally how it could be perceived as racist. I can totally see how it could be because of history, because of stuff, because of where even things like I love, like Asterix. The Asterix, the Asterix comics that were. I mean, we loved these in Nigeria growing up. Yeah. We would grab them every time one of them came up. We'd gather around the whole thing. We'd pass it around the school. We would laugh about it. And I don't think it did not even occur to me that the really, really dark person with a pot belly, big ass, and massive red lips was supposed to be an African. It did not even occur to me, and it wasn't until later on I was like, "Hang on, what?" So that's what. And you start realizing, oh, that's what they think of us, and that's what they've propagated that we're like. And it's so you have this history of these things, and people try relating to black people. Like if you ever watch a Tarzan film, the black people and the chimpanzees were on the same level, quite frankly. Yeah. And so I understand that's where it all links to. But I think it's a lot more nuanced. It's a lot more. We need to realize that. Well, thanks to Meghan Markle now being part of the royal family, we're in a whole new ballgame. We're in a whole new ballgame where things you say about the royal family could be misconstrued as you hating a black person.
Correct.
So it's, and maybe this was the shock that people would have made a lot of people learn. I mean, like what Sabrina was saying, I made people go, oh, I didn't realize that this was actually an issue. This did not occur to me. Although Sabrina, I think I showed you a video about which I think is hilarious.
I remember.
It's a kind of problem that you see, and it's a reporter on TV.
Yeah.
And he doesn't know what words to use. It's so hilarious. I'll send it to you, see whether you can share it on your Facebook afterwards.
I'll do that.
It's so hilarious, but because you can see him and he's standing there and he's trying to talk about, you see, because this is the first Anglo-American baby that we've ever had in the royal family, and it has says a lot for Anglo-American relationships.
Now, what of their son, baby Sussex, no name for him so far, the first Anglo-American birth in the British royal family. Now, we know, of course, that, excuse me, let me collect my thoughts. The first Anglo-American birth in the British royal family, and it is certain, of course. I'm so sorry. Let me just once again hand back to you.
He doesn't know how to do it, and he just ends up essentially his brain gets scrambled, and he just sort of goes back to you in the studio.
Yeah,
and it's
because you might say that you can say mixed race, can't you? Mixed race is mixed
race is
but then people used to use another word, which
half caste.
Half caste. Yeah, which
we even use that in Nigeria.
Say the half caste quite because and it's so things move on, and language changes, doesn't it? And
even mixed race is beginning to be sort of filtered out. Now it's dual heritage. It's a new thing.
Is that a new one? Dual heritage.
Dual heritage.
I like, yeah.
I actually quite like dual heritage because I've got
Because it doesn't refer to race, then, does it? Dual heritage.
Well,
It doesn't.
It doesn't even say because the problem with saying something like mixed race, and I think we might be going off but the problem I find with saying something like mixed race is kind of like it has connotations of it isn't really one thing or the other.
Yeah.
It isn't English or it isn't American or like for instance my nephew and nieces, they are dual heritage because my brother's married to a Welsh woman, and with them it's I remember even before I heard this dual heritage thing, I started referring to them as double race because it's like it's kind of saying, oh, they're not fully Nigerian, they're not fully Welsh, they're kind of a mix of them, and what is that? But it's like no, they're both. They're both Nigerian and they're both Welsh. So so I prefer it, but I mean it's mixed race is better than some of the things that have been said in the past.
I know.
Yeah, but I think it's the problem I find is just that we as humans have not gotten to the point where we can just relate to each other as humans.
Yeah.
We can't.
Some people can, but I get you. Yeah, definitely.
Well, I think on a one-to-one basis we can.
Yes.
On a one-to-one basis we can, but generally speaking, like I have a big bugbear about the way African countries are treated. Generally speaking, that we're still not seen as equal, and on some level, be it at an economic level or anything like that, we're not seen as deserving to be equal, or the aim is not even for us to be equal.
Yeah.
So I mean, the number of times I hear people and they say something along the lines of, yes, I hear this a lot in churches. They go like, we do missions all over the world. We do missions in America, in Hawaii, in Guam, in Africa. And you're like, hang on a second. You have just equated the entire continent of Africa with a small island of Guam. And that's the way people think about it. People think about, and I feel there's still this subconscious thing of, oh, they haven't come up to our level yet, or they're not quite there yet. And why that is there, issues like this are still going to keep happening because people, even though I genuinely do not think that I don't know the man, never met him, but I genuinely don't think he meant anything racist by it, because we're not on equal footing. We're not on equal footing, and there's a lot of evidence and there's a lot of just anecdotal stuff about to say that we're not on equal footing. These issues will come up. It's a bit like the Stacey Dooley thing that happened last year. Sabrina, did you know about that one?
I don't know about that one. You're going to have to tell me a little bit about that, Tosin.
It was in the run-up to Red Nose Day, and Stacey Dooley had gone to...
I remember it.
Yes, Stacey Dooley had gone to Uganda and was filming some of the Red Nose, so like comic relief sort of documentary snippets for Red Nose Day, and she shared on Instagram a picture of her holding a Ugandan child, and David Lammy, the MP, who. Well, I won't talk about him, but he shared something and he spoke, it was something along the lines of, this is the problem with the whole thing of appropriation and blah, 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 and touristy, what was it? It was kind of like, charity tourism and all that kind of stuff. And it became a big deal about, the way, English people, white English people present themselves when they go over there. And it's kind of like, the sort of white savior thing. That she's gone over there and she's like, oh, look at me, I'm helping all the poor black kids.
Yeah.
And it's the reason why that's an issue. If she had gone to Serbia and she can take a picture of her with a Serbian kid, it would not have kicked off as big as that.
No.
Because even though that's a place that has been torn apart by all sorts of conflicts, people still don't put that. I think there's still a higher level of regard that place is held in than any African country.
Yeah.
So I'm not even sure where I'm going anywhere, so I'm just going to stop talking. I'm going to stop talking for a second.
You jump in. Jump in.
Dual heritage, because that for me, I've not heard somebody use that before, and what really came up for me kind of emotionally when you said that is it's a sense of pride for both.
Yeah.
Which it feels exactly how it should be. You should be proud.
Yeah.
To be from where you're from, for your roots, whether that's whether you're sort of half Serbian or half Spanish or half African or Ugandan or from Nigeria. Or
thank you for switching from African to Ugandan.
In the world, in this very small piece of your history, because I think that's one thing that came up for me earlier as well, is like context is key, but also understanding history, and there's no excuse for the ignorance. When a lot of us really look back at our sort of genetic profiles, whereas we might identify as British, born and bred, or something else, actually quite a lot of us it began in Africa. A lot of us came from that place. That is our heritage if you go back the millions of years in history. So
but even if you don't go,
heritage, love that.
But even if you don't go that far back, we're a mix. We're a mix of Europe, aren't we? And the Vikings and France, and there's all sorts all mashed up together, isn't it? It is, though, isn't it?
Yeah. No, so it's just that way you said that about if you go far back enough now, like, we're all African. It just made me think that it just, in my head, that just puts Africa as, the embarrassing parents that nobody wants to admit. Nobody wants to admit that those are my parents.
Well, I think as well, it's like, if I was, I would have that sense of pride that, this is where humans came from, this is where we evolved, this is what makes us amazing species, and
So do you think he should have been sacked?
Is that for me?
Yeah, it's for you, sorry. I'm looking at a speaker and talking to you as if you're actually physically there. You're currently a speaker on my shelf. So do you think he should have been sacked for it?
Absolutely, I do. I mean, I get that, he's more of a sort of comedian, and he, should be able to say what he thinks, and I understand his intentions, and and where his heart was at. It seems tough to get sacked, but I think the BBC made the right decision.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, for them, they made. Yeah, you're right. So,
yeah,
I wasn't sure because it's also interesting when you watch going into comedy, when you watch a black person making comedy about, that's fine, but when a white person does it, and you've got the last leg where the
Adam Hills,
one leg, and the guy he's not got any hands.
Is it Alex Brooker, I think his name is?
Yeah. But he makes jokes about that and about things, and it's fun. It's weird. Do you know what I mean?
Well,
it's acceptable for him to talk about, I can't pick anything up, or I'll have a job doing that. I'll have a job.
Yeah, but then is even on that show, you have Josh Widdicombe, who is the in inverted commas able-bodied one out of the three of them.
And it's a matter of opinion and that.
I know. But he can make jokes like that because the relationship has been established, and these people like Adam Hills and Alex Brooker, I think that they would find it weird if he didn't make jokes about that. They've given him permission.
It's an amazing show.
Yeah, they've pretty much given him permission so he can say things about Alex not being able to pick something up, or Adam only having one leg, because he's been given permission to say that. Yeah. So it's that's my point.
That makes absolutely sense, and that's why you find a lot of comedians making jokes about people within their family, their mother-in-law or their partner, because the relationship is there, and so that's okay. It's when we don't know each other, we don't have that relationship, you can't be pointing fingers and sticking labels on people where you don't have that bond.
So have you? I'll tell you what I was going to ask you, and I have asked the guy, because I know a lot of guys in the States, rappers, and I've asked the subject before because it's really interesting. The N word, right? So we've got that is a real extreme. That's as bad as the C word, but the other C word. Now, I think I know why, because I've asked someone else about it before. It's the people have taken ownership of that word, because that word was used as a derogatory term to talk about people they'd enslaved. So if you were a slave, you'd be called that word. Be called the M word. Now, quite openly, it's used, and it can get quite confusing for people like me.
Yeah, I think it can get quite confusing, especially if you're not American. I think I find if you're British and you're not, that's not part of your daily everything, because that word is not as big a deal over here.
No, it's not.
It's not used as much over here. So if you're British and you go into America, it can become you will step on some minds and you will blow things up, and you just need to hope that you've made some good relationships so people realize where you're coming from. But yeah.
Yeah, it's not as a reason. It's because it gets used as a term of insult. If you listen to people, they use it as a term as insult.
Yeah.
But I've also seen it used as a term of endearment. Where if I was black and you were black, I'd go
often in the same sentence.
Yeah, and you think, and it can get very confusing. It's a word, obviously. I like. There's a track that I'm not going to play today, but I played it this morning on live, and the word is used throughout the track.
Yeah.
And I was singing it this morning, and I have to censor myself from saying that word because
well done.
because even though that song has been, that word is in that song, if I started saying
that word
and then say that word, then they go, you can't sing that.
Yeah.
Even though I want to sing along to the song, even though I think the song is great.
Yeah.
And then I sort of brush past it. It's funny. Well, do you come across that, Sabrina, as well? The use, because it is not big in the UK. The use of the word is not massive in the UK. But if you watch any American lives, you'll see it used a lot.
Yeah. See, I used to listen to that kind of music when I was younger, but kind of
grown up.
So it's not. I don't come across it very often in the stuff that I do these days.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good.
Well, although having spoken about that, there was another scandal last year or the year before where I think it was either an MP or somebody in the House of Lords used that word.
Really?
They used that word, and they were talking about something. I think it had to do with Brexit or something like that. They're like, but what's really the N word in the woodpile?
Oh, and that's an old. Oh, yeah, wow, and that's an old. An old saying.
That's an old saying, but first of all, it tells you kind of the kind of person who it was, who would use that kind of saying, but wouldn't realize there was a problem.
It wouldn't have been a young guy. It would have been an old
guy. It was an older lady. It was, and she used that word, and that was like, whoa! And she genuinely didn't seem to understand why there was a problem.
Yeah.
And I think it is a bit of what you're talking about there's a generational thing where it's like the people who their only exposure to Africa or Africans was the Asterix comics, for instance.
Yeah.
The people, if that
they've watched the old films with Tarzan.
Or they've watched the old film with Tarzan and they think, you guys all wear loincloths and live in trees.
Yeah, you all walk around with plates around your neck and all stretched.
Yeah, and you're all stretched and all that kind of stuff, and you all carry spears and hunt lions, and there's people who have lived a bit of a sheltered life, and they've managed to go through their lives and get to a point that they don't realize anything wrong with that.
Yeah.
And then they get into a public forum, and everything that they've thought has been okay just comes out. They just think they're just making conversation, and it blows up in their face. And I think that, for instance, someone like that lady, and this has happened with me before. It's happened with me before. When people say things like that, I never think that the first response should be anger, offense, slap him in the face, tell him to shut up.
Educate.
Yeah, I think that's what we need to look. I think it's even before we educate, it's discuss.
Yeah.
And just have a chat and say, be like, okay, cool. Like, I think I told you I was in a church once and somebody used the word okay, I'm not going to say the C word again because
it's fine.
Someone used the word colored and he used it while he was preaching from the pulpit in a church.
Was he white?
Of course he was white.
Of course, you presume something there. There's black preachers.
But a black preacher is not going to use that word.
No, true.
That way. A black person black people do not use that word, and he said it, and I remember when he said it, I physically flinched, and I had to go find him 2 weeks later, and I was like, dude. You know, the other week you used this word when you were, and he was like, oh, yeah. So, with a smile on his face and everything, and I was like, please don't use that word. And he was like, what? And I had to explain to him, look, when I hear that word, this is why it comes across to me.
Yeah.
It comes
all
across.
the hairs stand up on your back.
When people use that word, when they said there's two types of people in this world, there's white people and there's colored people. And it kind of like elevates and says white is some sort of special thing, because last time I checked, white was a color. So, so it just rankles. It's very imperialistic, and I do not like it. But he used the word, and so I tried to speak to him. I tried to tell him, look, this is the problem I have with using that word. Please, if I can beg you, don't use it again. And because I think I could very easily have said, what? How dare he? I'm it. I'm leaving the church. I'm never coming back again. It's a pull of a bunch of racists. And I think when somebody does something like this, we need to check and see, are they actually being racist? Or are they just being uninformed? Like, did I ever tell you about my story about the meeting an Arsenal fan on the tube in London?
You might. I don't think so.
Okay.
Sabrina doesn't know either.
Yeah. So I was on the Piccadilly line. It was a Carling Cup night. Arsenal had just finished playing. They just finished playing, and I decided to be the weird person in London and try and start a conversation with somebody on the tube.
Oh yeah, you don't do that.
Yeah. So I went up to these guys who had the Arsenal scarves off. They must have been up in their 60s or something like that. And I was just kind of like, oh, how's the game tonight? They're like, oh, it's amazing what Arsenal's doing over there. He's got such good lads, because that's when Arsene Wenger used to play a lot of the younger kids. And he's like, he's got such good lads, they're so quick. There's some guys at the back, there's a couple of darkies like you.
No!
It's like, they're amazing. I mean, honestly, I've never seen anything like this. And the way the guy said it, there was no malice in it whatsoever.
But the way you just explained it then.
Yeah, there was no malice in it whatsoever. He was admiring them. He was saying they were amazing. But obviously, I was looking at the way he said it so matter-of-factly that I was kind of like, wait, what did he just say? What? Yeah. Well, I guess I am kind of dark. And you realize that someone like that means nothing by it. But I don't know. Maybe I am the first black guy he's actually had a conversation with.
Could be.
And where he grew up in what sounded like, I guess he was an Arsenal fan, North London.
Yeah.
All those years, I think he was 60 in the noughties. So when he grew up, that's what he would have been hearing. And he'll probably be thinking, that's just what you call people who have darker skin.
We've got a show on the station, which is the Steam Radio show. It's based in the 1970s.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? Yeah. So Howard is trying to get some clips, and there's some certain shows, and he's tried to, I think Alf Garnett's one, and something else. And Alf Garnett used to use it all the time. He says, I've gone through some episodes, and I can't find a clip I can play.
Yeah.
Because it's all, do you know what I mean? It's really, even though, it's supposed to be set back then, it's like, I can't play that because he uses that word or he uses that word.
Yeah.
And they were really, you couldn't show them on the TV now.
Yeah.
You can find them on the internet, on YouTube and stuff, but you couldn't play them on the TV because of how he used to refer to people.
Who weren't white.
Yeah.
So it's... So Sabrina probably has to go soon.
You have to go soon. Do you want to try anything before you go? Because you've got a big event tonight, haven't you?
I am going to the Nottingham Post Business Awards, so I do need to run upstairs, put on a posh frock, and get myself out there, I think.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, have fun.
Thank you very much. Thank you for letting me join in on this. It's been good to talk it through. And
also because of what you do, because you run a business called, was it Mindset Match?
Yes, that's right. You can find me at mindsetmatch.com.
Good one.
Yeah, and I think because of what you do, it's interesting coming at it from a sort of mindset point of view or from a psychological point of view, looking at, what happened. Sorry, carry on.
I think what really resonates with me is a lot of the work that I do helps people to take a step back, get a bit of perspective, understand the context, not react too quickly, and communicate better with others. So a lot of what you're talking about, we all need educating. We don't ever have all the answers.
No.
And it is by mixing things up, getting to know more people, and understanding ourselves, others, people's perceptions, and we can all just sort of get on better, get on further, faster, happier in life.
That's brilliant. So just mention where you are again, where can people get hold of you?
Yeah, so you can find me at mindsetmatch.com. You can send me an email at sabrina@mindsetmatch.com. I've got on my website a WhatsApp button you can press and get in touch with me instantly if you need. So always here, happy to help with anyone that needs a bit of help with anything really in life.
Thanks for that.
Cool.
All right.
Brilliant. Well, have a good evening.
You too. Take
Cheers.
care.
Bye bye.
Have a good one.
Bye
Bye.
bye. And that's why I wanted to talk. That's why I wanted to have the discussion with you, because you obviously brought the subject up. Because it's unfair for me to make assumptions of for other people, isn't it? So, someone said to me the other day, a lot of the reaction is also comes from people that are so scared of everything and the uber offensive on the behalf of somebody else, and that's why it's, and what Sabrina's saying, that's why it's good for us to mix with people, not anybody, mix from different people from different areas. You know, even if you're in the UK, mix with people from Wales that you've never interacted with. Liverpool, you know what I mean? Because ultimately we all want the same things. We all want the same things out of life. We've all got the same sort of aspirations. We all want better for our children and for us. We all just want to get on with life, and I think it's sad that we still live in a world where we see when someone is different in whatever way they are, whether it's the missing a limb or the cushions just fell off, or they're from a different background, or they speak a different language, or the religious in a different way, then Dougie Stone Radio. Yeah, so it's important that we do ask these questions and get information from other people, different people's perspectives. There might be people watching that go, how can you say that? But you're right, you've got your opinion. We should have an opinion, and we should be able to discuss our opinions as well, shouldn't we?
Yeah, I think so. I think when things like this happen, what I don't like is when something like this happens and you have the people who at the moment are the moral majority who think, oh, for goodness sake, this is terrible, get rid of him. And then once everybody else has been, in a way, bullied into doing what they want, they go, yeah, well, that's sorted. And I'm like, no, it hasn't sorted anything.
No.
It hasn't sorted anything. Because there's going to be people who will feel that Danny Baker has been hard done by, and are going to take this as the example of the political correctness gone mad in this country. Those
I had a lot of conversations like that on a post about that very subject. I actually blocked a couple of guys because of the way they went over the other way. And I was like, I'm blocking you because you're just you're just a nutcase.
And the thing is, people they will feel like that, and the fact that there isn't really a discussion. There isn't a discussion about it. The fact that it's just, shut up! No! Don't talk! Danny Baker, you're no longer allowed to talk! Go hide in the corner! And I feel like there's going to be people like that you speak about, who will feel that is them being told to shut up, and that is them being told to hide in the corner. And people will feel like, okay, it's all been done, it's all been sorted now, and we sorted it, we dealt with the guy who put out a post that could be perceived as racist, that's it, we've sorted racism. And even though that sounds stupid, but I think in people's mind, they think that's it, that's enough. And, and I'm like, no, it isn't, because you need to have a discussion. You need to talk about this, you need to talk about why what he did was wrong, because not everybody understands why some people thought it was wrong. So and they just think, hang on, what? The guy said you can get fined for sending out a picture. You can get fined for making a joke, and they will not understand it. And you haven't dealt with it. You haven't spoken to them about it. And so all that's going to breed is there's just going to be resentment built, and it's going to go down, and it's going to fester, and it's never dealt with. And then in 20 years' time,
back again.
You'll have somebody. I mean, I was watching something about a lady on. She presents the BBC Coventry and Warwickshire radio morning show. A lady called Trisha.
Don't tune into that though.
Yeah. Trisha Dudu, and she was talking about what happened in the aftermath of the Brexit vote.
Yeah.
And now she had somebody yelling the N-word at her in the street, saying, "Go home, go home, go home." That guy didn't have that idea overnight. That idea has been there for decades.
And it's ridiculous, isn't it? Because you're telling someone to go home. I mean, there's people that are same as my brother lives in Malta, and he could get told to go because he's not. But if he had children over there, then the Maltese aren't. You know what I mean? So a lot of people are telling people to go home who are probably second and third generation.
But that is true. But my point is like that man has had that.
Yeah, he's had that view for a long time.
For decades. And what happens is it never gets discussed, it never gets engaged with, it never gets, why do you think about this? All that man has probably heard for 20 years has been shut up, don't say that, shut up, don't say that, shut up, keep quiet, stay in the corner, shut up, just go away. And then eventually when when a party like UKIP comes up, you find that people are like, oh my God, how could this happen? How could people say things like this? And that's because these people have had this point of view for years, and instead of engaging with it and trying to explain to them and trying to figure out why they think the way they think, all you've done is tell them that they're horrible, they're evil, they're this, they're a whole bunch of insulting words, shut up, don't say anything, stay in the corner. And that point of view doesn't go away.
No.
It just stays under the carpet.
Until something happens.
happens.
The ridiculous thing about that statement that he's saying go home is Brexit is about Europe. And unless she's come from France, Germany, or do you know what I mean?
Let's not get into Brexit because I'm
true. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
It's time to go home because of Brexit, but that individual's got nothing to do with that anyway because they've probably not come from a European country.
I don't think anybody knows what Brexit is actually about.
Exactly. So it's very very complex. But and also people, I presume people think because of the Brexit, because of we don't get into Brexit. What I'm trying to make a point is, and it's backing what you're saying, they feel that those things that have been festering away, they're able now to view them, to air them, because actually this is like a floodgate for me to say what I want about that individual, because I've always felt it, but I've do it before.
I've been thinking this for 20 years,
and now
but
I wasn't the green light.
But I wasn't allowed to say it because I was in a job and I was got fired. Now I'm retired. Now I can say what I want, and now I can actually those sort of things. And I think, if we just keep telling people to shut up just because we don't agree with what they say, that's what's going to happen. So I think we need a discussion. We need okay, you use this word, why do you use that word? You think this about that people group, why do you think this about that people group? And at least at the beginning, have a certain lack of judgment. I mean, that sounds bad. I mean, it sounds like you don't. But what I mean is, at the beginning, don't immediately say you are wrong for saying that. Just start off with why are you saying that? And
good point. Good point.
Yeah, just start off with why are you saying that, and let's figure it out.
Because straight away you're saying wrong, so you're starting the conversation off for negative anyway.
It immediately becomes adversarial.
Someone's going to defend it and go, no, I'm not wrong because I've always said that.
Exactly.
Yeah. So why have you said that? This is why I said it.
And that's. I just think we need more of that. I think with something like this, I've loved it if the Danny Baker thing has kicked off a proper discussion, as opposed to.
Well, it has.
Well, it has. Yeah. It has.
Here.
It has. Yeah, but I think it would have been good if the BBC had actually. But I mean, this is me.
Well, but you like you said, they've dealt with it now.
Yeah.
They brushed it under the carpet.
Exactly.
It's gone now. He's
Exactly.
gone. He's an embarrassment, and I predict he will come back. Because we've had a few things like this, but not necessarily racism, but like various people taking drugs, and then 6 to 12 months later they appear on another show and do something else.
Yeah.
Jonathan Ross was a classic a bit years ago.
Yeah.
He was like, is the word disgrace thrown out, and then where's Jonathan Ross now? He's all over the radios, on the TV, he's everywhere. Everyone's forgotten about it because there's been a bit of a period. So. It's bizarre, isn't it? It's bizarre that individual's been at this minute in time. They won't want to touch him with a barge pole, but then in 6 months, 12 months time, they might come back, or he'll come back on something else potentially, or maybe he won't because he might.
Personally, if I owned a radio station now, I would bring Danny Baker in. I would bring him in, and
come on, Dougie Stone, right?
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. Yeah. I would bring Danny Baker in, and as a black man, I would want to actually sit down and have a discussion with him, and have a discussion with him because I really do not like the demonization of people for doing one thing or another. I do not like it's like the fact is, because the truth is we've all made mistakes. Yeah. We've all done things wrong, and if the result every single time we made a mistake was, "Oh my God, you're the worst person in the world, get out, lose your job," without any sort of like chance to say, "Okay, look," I mean, he's come out and he said sorry. He said there was a connotation to this thing that I did not realize at the time when I did it. When it was explained to me, I took it down. He's come out and he said that, and I think there's a lot more power, even if like with him losing his job. And I've said. I can understand why the BBC did it, because that's what the whole thing would have become. But I think there was an opportunity to have a real good conversation about this.
Brilliant.
And I think because it's not. It's people don't like that. People like extremes. They'll do the extreme of fire the guy. Look, we did it. Okay, are we all happy? Are we all happy? Cool. Now let's all go watch Downton Abbey. So kind of thing. It's like but yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, I'm a bit sad on how it's done, and if anybody knows Danny Baker,
I was just going to say that. If anyone knows Danny Baker,
I would love to have a chat with him.
And
I would love to have a chat with him because
I'll come record it.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot more that can be done, and that it's an opportunity to have a conversation, the type in which we need so much more in this country, but the type in which people would just sort of like ignore.
Come on.
Yeah.
I think we've done it to death.
I think we've done it. It's about an hour.
We've been an hour talking.
Yeah.
So, we for people that are watching and listening, because we're recording this as for a podcast.
Yeah.
Tell people what you do.
Oh, my name is Tosin. I run a business called Tosin Video Production.
See what I did?
Yeah, no, it helps you remember my name. Think Tosin. So Tosin Video Production. It's the website is tosin.com, and I make online videos for small businesses. So it's helping people who are thinking, the way I say it is like, people who dip their toes into the whole video world because they're like, oh, hang on a second, I've heard about this YouTube thing. I've seen videos on Facebook, and I run a business, and it's the way people take in information nowadays. So if you want to get your message out there through video, that's what I help you do.
Yeah, and they're good as well. I've seen some of these examples. We should have got one ready, but never mind, we'll do that again.
Yeah.
So, thanks for coming over today, because I know you've got to shoot off somewhere else.
Yep.
Great conversation, and it was brilliant to actually... the reaction the other day was why we had to do this and how we had to get out there, why we had to make the conversation talk to it.
Yeah.
It's a pity Sabrina couldn't be here, but it was great that she was sat on our shelf here.
Oh, right on the shelf. Right on the shelf.
So, yeah, she was up there. What I should have done is every time I spoke to her, I should have zoomed up there like that, shouldn't I? That's what I should have done. Anyway, I think we'll let everyone get on with the day. Let you get on with your day.
Yep.
Thanks very much for being here, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
What do you think of that? What are your thoughts? Yeah, I'd be pleased to know. I'll be interested to know, I should say. So if you want to contact me, contact at dougiestoneradio.com. Or you can go to our Facebook page. So it's Facebook.com/Dougie Radio. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, a really interesting topic, subject, and one that's not going to go away for some time. So let's have a look. I think Danny, like I say, at the time of recording this, I think he's now due to go back on air after investigations by the police. He's been cleared of some stuff. So, yes, very interesting subject. So, have you been a subject of racial discrimination? What do you think about the topic we've discussed? What's your views on it? I'd be more than happy to receive information from you and your thoughts on the matter. Thanks for Tosin and Sabrina for joining me on the show. We had a remotely connected. Oh yeah. Anyway, I've been Dougie Stone. Please subscribe if you're listening on Mixcloud or on a podcast. Check out the station, dougiestoneradio.com. Until next time, see ya!